Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is James, and in this video, let's go over some stuff in the Daryl Dixon show, the variant walkers, the runners, Janae's experiments, several things like that we'll be talking about, so spoiler alert if you're not caught up. So I got a request in the comments a while back to do a video by Nashville, Tennessee girl, I think it was, that to do a video saying leading up to Daryl Dixon, what you need to know before you watch the series. And it's already like the 4th episode, so I kind of, I think it was around the first episode when asked, and I think it was around the first episode when I was asked, and I just never got to that video. I apologize, but there's not a lot to know before you watch Daryl Dixon as far as his backstory. I did a video on that. I'll leave the link in the description. And the post-credits scene of World Beyond Season 2, you kind of need to know stuff about that for sure. So I will talk about it a little bit in this video. But first I want to look at the intro real quick, and this book, the table, you do see a crossbow, that kind of relates to Daryl, but the rest, definitely the lines or hoses with blood, the book open to the anatomy, stuff drawn on the page. You do see Janae's symbol up there in the middle beside the head, and you see also a lot of French words and stuff, and the drawings of the circulatory system, a little bit going up into the brain, stuff like that. But you see this word Uber that's in a square. And let's look at what Uber means right here, I think. So in the dictionary, it means denoting an outstanding or supreme example of a particular kind of person or thing. You can put Uber before words and it means, super, like Uber geeks, super geeks, So it's a super person. I think that's what they're trying to make. As far as the experiments, they put into that normal walker something that made him dance for a minute, but he jerked the chains out of the wall and came at the glass really hard before his head kind of popped. 18 seconds was all it would last. So they're definitely making these runners, it looks like, in a lab, but the runners wouldn't be out in the wild because they don't last that long. Are only the burners out in the wild? Isabel said, that's a burner. Daryl asked, I don't know what it was that what kind of walker that was. And she's like, it's a burner, among others. To me, Isabel acknowledged there's others out there. Runners, are there runners? Was it a burner or a runner on the ship that was chasing Daryl when he jumped off? We do know it was burners that were jumping out of the windows and didn't seem to be affected too much. They got right back up and attacked Isabel in episode 3, Isabel and Daryl. He used the one to burn through the door pretty much. So if there's only burners out in the wild, what was Isabel talking about? And if runners are created, let's look at a comicbook.com article for a second. So it seems like they were shipping test subjects from America to France, and they're continuing their test on these subjects. This is a French scientist. In the Janae experiment, it looks like they're making progress, they said, but they did inject a restrained zombie test subject with some type of mysterious serum, like it says in the comic book article. The black-eyed walker then became agitated and erratic, ripped its chains from the walls with a burst of super strength, and then violently imploded as the blackened blood spurted from its head. The amped-up super zombie lasted just 18 seconds. To that, Janae said, continue. So it doesn't tell us a lot, except they are making the runners. Are there any runners out in the wild that last longer than 18 seconds? What other kinds of walkers or experimental walkers or whatever it may be are out there that Isabel might have hinted to? And some articles like Screen Rant, some of the other places use the word evolve, like, oh, they're not evolved, they're made in a lab. But I did an entire video on evolve is not the correct word to use when we're talking about this stuff. I'll leave a link to it in the description as well. So I'm going to add in right here. I was just, editing this video. I checked the comments and a person commented, Seb Gon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. SEBGON 7834. Says, hello, James, I'm French, and you have found the answer for the zombies experiments on the anatomy book. There are notes in French. Contrôler la mort. I never say those right, means control the death. So I went over what Uber says, and he also talks about that too. So it's weird that I'm editing something when somebody comments. So we also know that controller la mort, or if that's how you say it, means control the death. Uber, super zombies. Right over to the right of that, you can see point de enter, or, that's the point that they enter with probably the serum or whatever it is they're putting into these walkers. So we see point of entry. We see control the death. We see super zombies. So it's cool to get a little bit more information. Thanks to Sebgon for that very much. But it makes me ask the question, what about the post-credit scene in World Beyond? What happened there? What were we seeing? Why did the lady scientist, after being shot, get up and act like that? If a normal walker dies, and do they become a burner? What made them become burners? It looks like they're trying to inject something in them to make them become runners. So the question I have is, are there actually runners out there and burners? And the only thing that we think made this guy a runner or something different is that they're experimenting on him. He was a normal walker. They injected something and he became crazy, ran at the glass. In the post-credit scene, the lady was shot in the back. She wasn't injected with anything. We didn't see her be a part of an experiment. She just turned into a fast, raging walker. And it seemed like her head didn't burst open. So I think this may be isolated. The Genet experiments, as far as trying to find a super soldier walker, I think that's what they're trying to do, is different than what the French scientists created in the first place. Some not evolved walkers, but just some variants because they tried to fix it. Remember in the post-credit scene, the French man said to the scientist, end this, because she said, I thought we could get together and maybe try to end this. That's why she came back or returned to the lab. He said, end this, you started this. So that makes you believe that they even started the whole thing, not just tried to fix it and messed it up. He said, all the teams. Then you made it worse. So the thing spray painted above them, the dead or born here, that does sound like it started there. So there's still a lot of mystery surrounding all of this of, are there runners out in the wild? I don't think we've seen them yet. Are they only created in the lab, and is only Genet doing this? Or was some of it started, of course, back when they were trying to fix it? And yeah, so about the serum, about the injection, a normal walker, like that thing was a normal walker before they injected it. It became crazy, wild, very strong, ran up against the glass. So it wasn't any type of variant to start with. They're making these. They're creating these. Did they create the burners? I guess the French scientists from the post-credit scene did. They made it worse. It looks like they're making runners, but they haven't perfected it yet. So going to that 18 seconds thing, remember in the trailer where we see Daryl fighting one that's in a mask? They rip the mask off and it comes running at him. Remember that needle in its neck? Yeah, they inject this thing, rip its mask off, and, maybe they've got up to 30 seconds by now, but there may still be at 18 seconds. Daryl has 18 seconds to defend himself against a super, super duper strong, crazy variant. That'll definitely be a fight for his life. Because you do have to ask the question, let's go back and say, did the French start it? Did they find a meteor crash to the earth that had some weird substance and they were testing it and boom, zombie apocalypse? Or from scratch, did they just cook up something and say, hey, wonder what this does? Were they led a certain direction by a certain people, a grant, funded by a certain grant? What led them to create it in the first place? Was it the military wanting a weapon? If they are the ones that started it, you have to ask that question. And then they try to fix it, which made it worse, made variants, and so forth. The scientist that Genet's using may be one of those original French scientists from one of the teams, but whatever they were doing, I think what they're doing now is she's wanting to get a super zombie, right? A super zombie that on a battlefield she can put that injection into and send them out, and they're like berserkers, They're just going to be acting crazy, tearing up everything, and they're super strong, and probably hard to kill if she gets to the point where she's got a working one. And then you go back to CRM. Weren't they really trying to find a cure? Reanimation time, they were trying to cut that down. If anything, find something that would maybe not be a cure as far as once you've been bitten or anything like that. But they were searching for something they could give people that they wouldn't reanimate when they died. That would fix the problem. Because in World Beyond, they did a similar experiment where they timed it. They weren't timing how long does the fast zombie break shit. They were timing how long does it take before once this person is dead, he reanimates. Or does he reanimate at all? That was their goal. So we know CRM, there's some evilness inside that group. But Janae's group, I think, they're more intent of, okay, we want to rule the world and we want to have the best weapon. Back when, or, in today's times, we're always wanting the best weapon, nukes, the biggest nuke, the biggest tanks, the biggest missiles, the ones that fly the farthest. To really become a superpower, you need the better weapons where no one dares to stand up against you. I think that's kind of her goal, maybe. But there is still a little mystery around all of this. There's still some questions that need to be answered. We got a few more episodes to go. It may even play out over season 2 that we learn a little bit more. We may have to see the ones who live, and tie it all together. There may be a bigger picture here, but hey, this is a lot of information. You guys can look over it. I know I've probably missed some stuff. You guys can add to it. Let's make this happen down in the comments. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll join you there. This is James in Nashville. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more dead stuff.